He's the towering co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon, the only alien among a band of heroes, and one of the most beloved characters in the entire Star Wars galaxy. From his unforgettable roar to his bowcaster, Chewbacca stands as one of the most iconic and recognizable characters in all of Star Wars. Hi, I'm Alex. Welcome back to Star Wars Relics, where we celebrate the original Kenner Star Wars figures that defined a generation. Today we're looking at Chewbacca, one of the very first figures released in 1978, and a character who's been with us from the very beginning. With one of the best nicknames in the saga, and as the only Wookiee we meet in the original trilogy, Chewie's figure quickly became a favorite for fans young and old. We first spot Chewbacca in the Mos Eisley Cantina, standing at the bar as Luke scans the room. Obi-Wan is quickly pointed in his direction and strikes up a conversation with the towering Wookiee. After the scuffle with Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan, Obi-Wan explains that Chewbacca is the first mate on a starship, and it's Chewie who leads them to meet Han Solo. Their next stop is Docking Bay 94, where Chewbacca escorts the group to the Millennium Falcon. Once they blast their way out of Mos Eisley, we see him at the controls alongside Han. During the trip, he even takes a break to play Dejarik, the holographic chess game with R2-D2. When R2 starts winning, Han gives us a bit of exposition about Wookiees, reminding us that it's never wise to upset one. On the Death Star, Chewbacca helps the team seize a control room, personally taking out the first officer they encounter. He's then central to their rescue plan for Leia, disguised as a prisoner in the famous prisoner transfer ruse. In cell block AA-23, Chewbacca knocks out a Death Star trooper and starts tearing apart cameras and security devices. When the group is trapped and forced into the garbage compactor, Chewbacca reluctantly follows, only to find himself just as powerless as the others against the crushing walls. Once they escape, we see a different side of him, his chicken moment, when even the mighty Wookiee shies away from the Dianoga lurking in the trash. For the rest of their time on the Death Star, Chewbacca stays close behind Han. As the heroes escape the Death Star, Chewbacca once again takes his place at the Falcon's controls. On Yavin 4, he joins Han for the pilot briefing ahead of the Death Star assault. Silently present but clearly invested. After parting ways with Luke, Chewie makes it clear he doesn't agree with Han's decision to walk away from the fight. But when the Death Star looms over Yavin and Vader closes in on Luke, Han and Chewbacca return at the last moment, blasting the TIE fighters out of the sky and giving Luke the chance he needs to destroy the battle station. During the victory celebration that follows, Chewbacca stands proudly with his friends. Recognized for his bravery, though famously, he's the only one of the group who doesn't receive a medal. In The Empire Strikes Back, we first see Chewie welding on the Falcon. He keeps working on repairs while Han searches for Luke, and when the shield doors close for the night, Chewie makes his feelings known. He's present when Luke recovers in the medical bay, and later in the command center when the probe droid's transmission is intercepted, prompting him and Han to check it out. Once the evacuation of Echo Base is ordered, Han and Chewie throw themselves into repairing the Falcon. As Luke heads to his snow speeder, he pauses to say goodbye to Chewie. When stormtroopers begin swarming the base, Chewie urges everyone to hurry. They manage to lift off and escape Hoth, though not without trouble. Hiding in the asteroid field, Chewie gets back to repairs. Once they investigate the cave, it takes Chewie missing a Mynock to tip Han off to the danger they are in, and they take off again. Arriving at Bespin, it's clear Lando already knows Chewie well. While searching for parts near the incinerator, Chewie discovers 3PO in pieces and rescues him. At dinner, the Empire springs its trap and our heroes are captured. Chewie is tortured with high-pitched tones, but once released, he immediately sets to reassembling 3PO. In the carbon freezing chamber, Chewie fights back, tossing 3 stormtroopers aside in a desperate attempt to save Han. He quickly turns to protect Leia, and when Lando pulls his double cross, Chewie and Leia race to rescue Han. They're too late, but Chewie still manages to blast 4 stormtroopers before escaping with the others aboard the Falcon. When Leia insists they return to Bespin, Chewie backs her up. Together they rescue Luke and rejoin the Rebel fleet. The film closes with Chewie and Lando beginning their search for Han. Chewie makes his first appearance in Return of the Jedi in chains, when the bounty hunter Boushh delivers him to Jabba the Hutt. Once sold, he's dragged down to Jabba's dungeon. Later, when Leia frees Han from the carbonite, Han is reunited with Chewie in their cell. Chewie makes it clear just how important Han is to him and quickly brings his old friend up to speed on the situation. After Luke kills the Rancor, Luke, Han, and Chewie are brought before Jabba, who sentences them to death in the pit of Carkoon. The next day, our three heroes are transported across the desert on Jabba's sail barge and skiffs. When the escape begins, Chewie works alongside Han to rescue Lando from the Sarlacc. Chewie is next seen at the rebel briefing for the assault on the Death Star. During the meeting, he volunteers to join the strike team tasked with destroying the shield generator on Endor. Aboard the stolen shuttle, Chewie naturally assumes his place as Han's co-pilot, and together they lead the mission to the Forest Moon. On Endor, Chewie takes out a fleeing scout trooper on a speeder bike, preventing him from alerting reinforcements. Later, while searching for Leia, Chewie picks up a strange scent and leads them straight into an Ewok trap. Once captured, he remains in the background as our heroes make new allies with the Ewoks. Chewie is front and center again during the assault on the shield generator bunker. When the Empire's trap is sprung, he manages to slip away into the forest, leading a small group of Ewoks. He helps capture an AT-ST and then uses it to destroy another walker, turning the tide of the ground battle. The team reunites at the bunker and completes their mission and ensures the Death Star is vulnerable to attack. We last see Chewie celebrating with Lando, Wedge, Han, Leia, Luke, and the Ewoks at the victory celebration on Endor. When I first thought about summarizing Chewbacca's role in the original trilogy, I expected it to be great deed after great deed. He has a fearsome reputation, but it actually takes a while before he lives up to it on screen. In Star Wars, we see him toss an officer in the control room and take down a Death Star trooper in the detention block, but we never actually see him shoot anyone. Honestly, I'm not even sure those two are dead. By The Empire Strikes Back though, Chewie starts racking up a body count. The 3 guards he hurls off the freezing platform, assuming they didn't survive the fall, plus the 4 stormtroopers he guns down during their escape. In Return of the Jedi, I've always felt he was underused in the Sarlacc escape, but he more than that makes up for it on Endor. Capturing and taking command of an AT-ST is, in my opinion, his greatest personal moment in the trilogy. Chewie is the hero's only alien, and yet he often feels a little underused. Most of the big moments and glory go to the others. That said, he's still an amazing character. George Lucas made a brilliant choice by not giving him subtitles or a goofy accented form of English. Instead, Han understands him, and that choice enriches the universe immeasurably. Chewie is so expressive that you always have an idea what he's feeling and saying, even without words. I only wish there had been more Wookiees in the original trilogy, good or bad. I love Chewie's backstory, his look, his bowcaster, and even his updated hairstyle in Return of the Jedi. Besides giving him more equal billing with the others, I wouldn't change a thing. Chewbacca was part of the original 12-back release and went on to appear across the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Trilogy, and Power of the Force cards. Kenner used 2 distinct images for him. The first, a posed still of Chewie and Han, blasters raised in front of the Falcon, is nothing short of iconic. Chewie looks fierce and powerful, ready to defend his ship. While the scene itself never happens in the films, since Chewie is always busy preparing the Falcon for takeoff, the image is so dynamic and cinematic that it hardly matters. It perfectly captures his presence and has become one of the best images of the original 20. Interestingly, Kenner even altered Chewie's bowcaster for this photo, removing the crossbow arms to match the simplified design of the toy. During the Return of the Jedi 65-back release, Kenner introduced a new card photo. This version, essentially a headshot of Chewbacca on Endor with his updated hairdo, replaced the original and was also carried forward onto the Trilogy and Power of the Force cards. Personally, I think the first image is far superior. It's fierce, dynamic, and truly iconic. The updated headshot works well enough, but unless the figure itself had been retooled, which it wasn't, the change feels unnecessary. Nailed it! The likeness is exceptional. Every bit of detail Chewie has is here. The proportions of his nose are spot on. Even a slightly longer or shorter sculpt would have thrown the look off completely. I love that his mouth is open, giving the impression of a fierce roar. It couldn't be any better. From the side, the head has the right depth and looks very natural. But the standout feature is the texture of his fur, which captures the look and feel of what we see on screen with surprising accuracy. I don't really mind that his head doesn't turn. I'm guessing it was simply easier this way, and it does help preserve the natural flow of his fur. Once again, nailed it. Chewie's only real costume piece is the bandolier and pouch, and Kenner got it right. It crosses the correct shoulder and sits at the right length. The sculptor even went so far as to include the alternating clip sizes on the bandolier, which is an incredible detail. On the screen, the bandolier is silver while the figure's is white, but that's nitpicking. The pouch is leather, and I have to give Kenner credit for painting it separately. It would have been easy to leave it in the base plastic color, but they didn't. Still, the standout feature is the sculpted fur, which looks as good as anyone could have hoped for. And I've always loved the toes. They are a great touch. Accurate? Not exactly. Innovative? Absolutely. Chewbacca is known for wielding his iconic bowcaster with its distinctive crossbow-inspired design. But when Kenner created his weapon, they left off the crossbow arms entirely. It feels like an unforced error. After all, they gave him his own unique accessories, so why not capture the signature detail? My guess is that the original tooling just couldn't handle such a complex design at the time. That shortcoming aside, the artist did something innovative. Unlike most weapons in the line, which rely on the figure's grip, Chewbacca's blaster doesn't need to be gripped. Instead, the blaster slides neatly into place and is held in place by his thumb and the weapon hook over the forearm. It's never actually gripped. It feels more like an extension of his arm. The fit is so natural, it's clear the weapon was specifically designed with Chewbacca in mind. If I had to describe it in one word, it would be unique. When he's not holding his weapon, his hands look natural and not cramped like many of his peers. In fact, they give the impression that he's ready to start slapping people around. But the design really shines once he's holding his bowcaster. The weapon slides neatly into place, giving him a strong, confident hold on the weapon. What I especially appreciate is that his gaze lines up perfectly with the direction the blaster is pointing. His ability to stand is impressive, especially given his height and high center of gravity. Whether his arms are raised or at his side, he remains remarkably stable and never feels close to tipping. His large footprint plays a big role, and even with a relatively narrow stance, he stands solid and secure. For our second career, my wife and I launched Fresh Solutions Therapy, a modern online practice with a team of skilled, innovative therapists we trust with our own friends and family. Grief touches all of us sooner or later. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a pet, or even a role in life, loss is loss. Our therapists are here to help you process and navigate this difficult time with care and support. If you're experiencing a loss that's impacting your life, I encourage you to visit freshsolutionsTherapy.ca and book a free 15-minute consultation with one of our therapists. I know they can help you. I really think I took for granted just how good this figure really is. When I look at it, I don't catch myself thinking, that's wrong, or they made that up. It's spot on. And when you consider that the artist had to capture hair all over the body for the very first time in a 3.75-inch figure, the results are remarkable. His balance is superb, far better than you'd expect from such a tall figure. He can hold any pose with ease. The way he grips his blaster is also unique, unlike any other figure across all three lines. The only shortcoming is that the blaster is missing the crossbow arms, and they knew it. They even removed them from the card image, which feels wrong on so many levels. Still, this is an amazingly accurate and playable figure, and they absolutely nailed it on day one. I got Chewie early on, and he quickly became part of my core hero group. Chewie and Han did everything together. They belong together, just like R2 and 3PO, or Chocolate and Peanut. I've looked all over, but I can't find Chewie anywhere. My best guess is that he's tucked away in a vehicle somewhere, because I would have never have left him out. I've always liked this figure. He was just as fun to play with holding the blaster as he was without it. And I really appreciated that the blaster was big enough not to get lost. What about you? What are your Chewie memories? And what did you think of this figure? I want to hear about it in the comments. Thanks again to everyone who subscribed and commented. The comments have been fantastic, and I really appreciate the support. The end of the original 20 is coming up fast. So if there's a list or countdown you'd like to see, let me know in the comments or stop by my Facebook page where I post the thumbnail 24 hours before each episode goes live. If you know your Star Wars, you already know who's next. Until then, take care.